to our Quickbooks seminar this afternoon. My name is Shana Dandy and I'm one of 3 partners. The other 2 partners are Helen Jones and Simon Nuttall. And I'm also joined by Mitzi Ball, who's my PA. So we're launching the product in a minute. We will have a look at sales invoices, how to add a customer and raise an invoice, purchase invoices, how to add a supplier and raise an invoice and expense, bank rec, find and match and bank rules. We'll look at the contacts, chart of accounts and creating new codes. We'll have an introduction to reports, an introduction to the QuickBooks data capture, some different add-ons, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So if we launch into the product now, all of the different type-based products have a dashboard and they all look a little bit different. So this is QuickBooks' version. So on here you've got the different bank accounts. So you can see on the sample we've got the current account and there's also a credit card there. And there's also a number of shortcuts, which is really, really useful. So if the best thing to do is to link your bank to the software. So it's really good probably to do the changeover, well, definitely before the end of the tax year, but to start, we can then run the report when we do it for next year from the start of the tax year and move forward, unless people want to do all their bookkeeping retrospectively. You could do, because you can, when you do the bank connect feed, you can choose the date, can't you, that you go back to. So from here, so it's always good to go back to the dashboard, and obviously there is an app as well, which is quite similar. So if we start off with sales invoices then, so if we go add invoice, so we might have Abercrombie International. That's already there. But equally, you could have a new one. So you could have add new. So you might have a new customer. You might have Mitzi might come down. So she would put in Mitzi Ball. To have Mitzi Ball. And then you put her in her email address, which enabled you to send invoices and so forth to her. And then you obviously add her address and so forth there. So if we just choose one that exists though, so if we chose that Abercrombie one. So it basically creates a contact book. So obviously for this one, it's already saved that it's Christy. This is American, so it's got that conversion up there, but obviously you wouldn't need that. And when you set up your invoice, so I know you're trying to think how that's going to work for your business, aren't you? When you set up your invoice template, you might have on there payment terms, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, and then it would automatically put the invoice date and the due date. And that becomes important when you come to run your reports. So you can see who's overdue. And then if you wanted to ever do any cash flow forecasting, it bases itself on those dates. Although I know it's not relevant for every business, because sometimes for your business, Sophie, you would have payment once that work's been done. So that isn't necessarily relevant for all types of businesses. So then you've got your product or service. So it might be consultancy. And again, you can add different categories. Then you could put a bit more detail in that. So you might have 10 hours and your rate might be £75 an hour. This is the VAT one. If you are VAT registered, then you would complete that. But if not, you don't need to. And then the class would be what it effectively is. I mean, sales is sales, isn't it? So you're not going to have lots of different ones there, but these are just ones that they've set up on this business. And you'll see at the bottom, it's got, you can automatically set what your bank account is. So please pay so and so. And then you might put a message on the statement like, thank you for your business or something like that. In terms of attachments, you can put attachments on. So for some people, it might be like a purchase order or something, and to show that that has been authorized. So when we buy stuff from our IT company, we always authorise the purchase, so our IT chap might put that there. And then you go to approve, and when you do that, it puts it into it can put it into a PDF format, which then gets emailed across to the customer. So in terms of using this for a different type of business, so say if you've got, some people have like a till, then they can have an automatic link where it's bringing through the sales anyway, so they don't have to do this. Whereas if it was a business like where you're charging someone for using your space, then you could just do a weekly invoice to that person, and that's how it then goes onto the system. So if we go back to the dashboard again. Yeah. And then in terms of the bank then, so if we look at a bank reconciliation, so it's all sort of led by the bottom left. So on here, what you tend to get come through, then these are all your bank lines that are coming through. So this will come through automatically each day. And what you should have is, if it matches with something, so if they've got any receipts ones. So if we look at received, the £1,000, what you do is it tries to match it. So you go to the two matches, so you can see, and then you can identify who that belongs to, who that, that is. So for example, if you're having your nails done and it's £38, you've got lots of different £38, then you'll be able to identify who that relates to and therefore who hasn't paid. And then if we go equally on the cost side, you can see that with Jennifer Hargreaves, that's an expense and that's tried to match it. And you're effectively reconciling by going match. And when you click on match, it gets rid of that line. But it's quite good, the bank feed, because you can see where you haven't put invoices on and things. So if you're VAT registered, you need to have a receipt for everything. But if you've got something and it's really obvious what it is, so like coffee place, for example, you could just create that and put that straight to, staff welfare if it's for your staff, or travel expense if it's when you're out and about and it's you're more than 3 miles from your business, it's business related. So it is really good when you can have the data capture, which we'll have a look at in a minute, because that then automatically can upload in QuickBooks and match it. So it's probably quite a good time to have a quick look at the data capture video.
This is Mark from the QuickBooks team. Receipt capture lets you capture images of receipts or bills and link them to expenses in QuickBooks, so you're always audit ready. Let's go over how you can capture and categorize your receipts from your mobile device, how to categorize in QuickBooks Online if you prefer, and how to set up a customized email address so you or your workers can email receipts directly to QuickBooks. To start, open the QuickBooks Online mobile app and tap Snap Receipt. Fit the edges of your receipt paper inside the corners. A green box will display the coverage of your receipt. Hold steady. If you have an Android device, you may be able to capture multiple images on this screen. You can rotate or crop the photo, or take another photo if needed. When you're ready, select Use this photo. QuickBooks extracts the data from your receipt. You can see this by going to the menu, then Shortcuts, then Receipt Snap. If you don't see your receipt, pull down to refresh the screen. This can take a bit sometimes if the receipt image is dark or blurred. Tap on the receipt to edit it. It's important to make sure the categories you select here are correct. Make any changes you need, then save and close. Then, create the expense or match it to an existing expense if one exists. Once you create your expense, your receipt will move to the Reviewed tab, and you'll see your expense in your books. You can also categorize your receipts on your computer if you prefer. Just go to Bookkeeping and Receipts. Note that your navigation may look like this. You'll see any receipts you snapped with your phone that you still need to review or match them here. From here, you can edit the receipt details, making sure the accounts and other details are correct. You can also upload receipts from your computer or Google Drive. If you want to have your workers email receipts so you can review them here, you can do that by setting up a custom email address in QuickBooks. Note that you must be an administrator to do this. Select Forward from Email, then enter the name you would like to use for this address. Then select Next, verify that your address looks good, then select Done. Select Manage Forwarding Email and toggle on for any users you want to give permission to forward receipts to this address. If you need to add a user, you can do so here. If you want more details on how to add users, there's a video at the end of this one. Users with permission can take pictures of their receipts and send them to your custom email address. Note, they must send from the email address they use to sign into QuickBooks. They can attach multiple receipts to an email, as long as each receipt is a separate image. You'll see all the receipts sent to that email address here, and you can review and categorize or match them. Now you're ready to manage your receipts using QuickBooks Online and the QuickBooks Online mobile app.
Excellent. So when QuickBooks sort of first came out, really that was one of the key features for them. Xero now have HubDoc, so they have sort of like a similar idea, and there are other add-ons like Dex and things like that, but this is the free one that you get with QuickBooks, and HubDoc is the free one that you get with Xero. So if we have a bit more of a look now at, if we then have a look at, say, your chart of accounts, so we start to have a look at some of, so if you subscribe for your software through us, we'll set up our chart of accounts so that it matches what your statutory accounts will be like. But this is effectively all the different codes, so it probably just looks a bit overwhelming. So we have got balance sheet stuff at the top, and then towards the bottom, you've got the profit and loss stuff. And of course, every business is different as to what they need in their fields. And so on the sales, you could have your different types of sales if you wanted to. And then also the costs, you can edit those as well. So you've got some different cost categories. Then if we have a little look at some of the other reports that are available. So this is probably the biggest thing about cloud-based software. So back in the day, even sometimes now actually, clients would bring stuff in a box. It would be like 12 months after some of the transactions, they're not getting any live management data at all. But the cloud-based software is, I think, helping people to make business decisions, because you should be able to see who owes you what, who you owe money to, and what you've got in the bank at any time. And when I had my own little practice, I used to do a lot of the bookkeeping on the app while I was waiting for the children. So it is really easy to do your bookkeeping and keep on top of it. It doesn't need to be an arduous task. So once you put your sales invoices in, and then you've paid them off to the bank and reconciled the bank, and you put your expenses in, your little receipts or your invoices, or you've done it through your data capture app, you've completed all your bookkeeping effectively, and you should then be able to start to look at some of the information. So profit and loss account is what we're really interested in. So you can see then for a period, you could put different periods in up here at the top. You can see for the week, how much have I made? What was my turnover? What was my profit? How does that compare to last year? You might be able to go, oh, I'd like to know roughly what my tax should be, or what tax I should be putting away in my savings account for corporation tax if we're limited. And then that will help you with those sort of business decisions. There are lots and lots of other reports there. So but these are the favourites. So age receivable, people who owe you money. Then it means that you can see who's over 90 days. And again, one of my favourite things when I was waiting for the children was sending statements to my clients saying, please pay me, your remittance would be kindly appreciated, and you can do it straight from the app, but that lets you have a look at whose information is outstanding. One point to note is with the bank, it's always good to regularly check your bank balance, your real bank balance at your bank to the product QuickBooks, because occasionally the links do break. So you might go, oh, they don't owe me any money. I know that they've paid me, and it's because that feed hasn't come through. So the earlier you can identify it, the earlier you can link it back up. And that's all to do with how much money the banks are investing in these API links, as to how reliable they are. Also, as you know, you can claim mileage back. It's an either or. So you can either claim your mileage, claim a VAT element back. The rate change each quarter. So that's when we recommend things like Trip Catch, because it works out based on what car you've got. But if not, you obviously can't claim the VAT back, so you just stick with the miles. Then other useful things.
If you want to add your logo on your sales invoice, you can do that under settings as well. So you just go into settings, and there's some account settings there, and there's some invoicing settings there. And if you want to add your logo on anything, you put on there.
So all of the cloud-based softwares have a plethora of add-ons. So if we have a look at some of the others, I mean, there's just tons and tons and tons. So if there was anything specific to your industry, and you're like, oh, I wonder if that works, then you can just have a look. So these are just some of them. So like receipt bank and auto entry are just like the data captures, really. Got Shopify, but there are literally like thousands. So anything. A decider for people is, does the app link to the product? So you know, where I've got like some pubs and restaurants and things, they want to make sure their tills link. So that's what's driving what they choose, really. Another driver though for choice is the costs. So we pass on our discount, so we generally are £2 a month cheaper than the recommended retail price, and there are different versions. So you've got starter, standard and premium. Some of the starter products do have limitations, so in terms of the number of transactions, but that does exist. And I think it's where you're looking at standard product, if you're price sensitive, that is quite different. The £5 a month sort of soon adds up, because of course we charge VAT as well. So you do get your with the data capture, then obviously you do get that with QuickBooks, and you do get it with Xero because you get HubDoc. And then if clients have foreign exchange, then for QuickBooks it's included. But for Xero it is an extra £5, although we do find the Xero one is very smooth. So them have their own sort of quirks, and you know, I prefer the Xero layout, some people prefer the QuickBooks layout. Within the practice, half of them prefer QuickBooks, half of them prefer Xero. Then if you want any further resources, there are a plethora of videos about everything and YouTube stuff. And then in terms of partners, so Penny, who you saw pop in, she is our It's a MTD senior bookkeeper, but just to spread the load of queries, we do tend to refer people to our PAs.
Thank you for listening to this webinar. If you require any further information, please don't hesitate to contact us.